This is rounding, board number 5. The required materials are dry erase markers and cloth. This board is used to round numbers in the top row, and you'll place the rounded number in the second row. So let's start off with an easy number, 138. So if you take 138 to the nearest 10, we know that the place value of 3 is 10. So we're going to take that 3 and come down to the tens, and right here we're going to write the number 3 because that's the digit in that place value. If we look to the digit to the right, which is in the top row, the digit to the right of the 3 is an 8. Well, because that number is 5 or greater, we can round that original number 3 up. So we're going to write an arrow or the letter U, whichever you prefer to mark it, and we're going to round the 3 up, which now it becomes 4. So we come back up to our original number, and we're going to change the 3 to a 4, and whenever you round, the digit after the 4, or all digits after the 4, become zeros. So in this case, 138 rounded to the nearest 10 is 140. Alright, let's go ahead and round another number, 782 decimal 5, and we're going to round it to the nearest whole number. Well, in the whole place, or the ones place, is the number 2. So we're going to come down here in the ones place, and we're going to write the number 2. And we look at the digit to the right, and that digit is 5. So we're going to place that here. And since it's 5 or greater, we're going to round up. So now the 2 will become a 3. So now we're going to take the 2 in the original number and round it to a 3, and everything after it becomes zeros. But in this case, since we're rounding to the nearest whole number, we do not need any decimals, so 782 and 5/10 becomes 783. So basically all we have to do in this instance is write the original number with all its decimal places, and we can round it by using the table below. The only time that we have to do something different is in a case where we don't have enough digits. So for instance, if we have a number 783.5 and we want to round it to the nearest hundredths, there are no hundredths and there's nothing after it. So basically we're going to have to just add a 0, and that number becomes 783 and 50/100ths. The next one, let's suppose we have to round number 783 to the nearest 1,000. Well, in this case, there's no digit in the thousands place. So we have to come down to the thousands and write 0, because that is the digit that's really there. Normally we don't write that when we write a number, but in this case there are 0 thousands. The digit to the right is 7, that's the hundredths place, and since that is 5 or greater, we're going to round that up. So now the 0 becomes 1, making this number 1,000. And finally, we're going to round a decimal, or to a decimal, and we'll start off with the number 427.62, which is 427 and 62/100ths. And let's round this one to the nearest tenth. So in this case, the digit in the tenths place is a 6, so we come down to the tenths, and we put a 6, and the digit to the right is the number 2, which rounds down because it's less than 5. Therefore, we keep the number the same. We never actually lower the number. It either stays the same or goes up by one number when we're rounding up or down. So in this case, this digit 6 stays the same, and our new rounded number is 427 and 6/10. Whenever you need more decimal places and you need to round, say, to the nearest 100th, you would just add another 0 if you're missing a 0 in the cases where you have to round to that place value and there are no digits. You don't have anything left. You can just put in the 0 placeholder. The next number we're going to do is a decimal. So we will do 582 decimal 62, which is 582 and 62 hundredths. We're going to round this to the nearest tenth. So in this case, in the tenth place is the digit 6. We'll come down here and put a 6. And we're going to look at the digit to the right, which is a 2, and place it here. Since it's less than 5, we round down. Therefore, the rounded digit, always the first one here, is going to round down or stay the same. So our new rounded number is 582 and 6 tenths. Notice we do not put any zeros after that because the tenths place is right here, and that's the last digit we need to round to. And finally, let's take this number 582 and 62 hundredths, and we're going to round this to the nearest thousandth. And in this case, there's nothing in the thousands place. So just as we did with the 783 where we had an implied 0, we actually have a 0 there that's not written. And since there's nothing to the right, that's still a 0, so we can walk through these steps. You can put a 0 in the thousands place, and the digit to the right is a 0, so that rounds down and it stays the same. So essentially, the number just gets a 0 added on the end, and that's how you round and add a 0 for a placeholder. This is rounding for board number 5.